So these are basically the heavy hitters. These are
Yes.
going to be the remedies you reach for again and again. These are the ones that we reach for over and over and over again. So that's how we know that you will. But also, they got that named Polycrest because of how often they're used and how many symptoms they actually can address. Welcome to the Simple Hopopathy Podcast. Your hosts are Sandra Nardoni, Nicole Pavlik, and Heather Strickland, three practical homeopaths whose mission is to educate, empower, and encourage you to confidently use the practical homeopathy approach to take back your health. Homeopathy is a system of natural medicine discovered in the 1700s by Dr. Samuel Hahnemann and is not supplements, botanicals, or herbalism. If you'd like to learn more, brew a cup of tea or coffee and keep listening. Hello and welcome to the Simple Hopopathy Podcast. I'm Sandra Nardoni, and this is my friend and cohort in crime. Well, we don't really do a lot of crime, but
Actual crime, just.
right. Heather Strickland. And unfortunately, Nicole's not with us today. It seems like me and Nicole keep going back and forth with being
No,
sick. So
great.
we we are just the two of us today. And we're going to be talking to you today about a really cool topic that we are super excited about. And that is and actually it's going to be a series where we're going to break down some of the most important remedies in homeopathy. And these are the ones that come up again and again and again. And we are really excited to start this series with you. So, without further ado, let me go ahead and give our disclaimer that none of us are doctors, and anything that you hear on this podcast is strictly educational in nature. And you shouldn't consider it to be medical advice, but rather you should go and see your holistic physician if you have a problem medically, or call 911. You know, those
If
are
you
the
need
two.
to.
Those are the two things to do. So, anyway, we're starting this new series about a type of remedy that is called a polycrest. I don't know how many of you guys have heard about that, but that probably isn't a very common word for those of us who aren't actually homeopaths. And so that's what Heather and I are going to be talking about today. So, are you as excited as I am, Heather?
I am actually
Yeah.
ready to
And
go.
we didn't even know that we would basically be wearing matching shirts.
Yes, we didn't
They
even,
have slightly different titles, but they're the
which
same, you know.
most of these are polycrests. A couple of them are actually.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know.
definitely. So, anyway, um why does this even matter, Heather?
Well, we were kind of joking before we started this recording about, I asked Sandra, I said, how many materia medicas, which a materia medica is the basically a dictionary of, or an encyclopedia almost, of all of the different remedies. So I was asking Sandra how many she had, and it seems like we both had seven.
We do.
So we do. We have a couple different ones, but we have a few that
Mhm.
overlap. So like this is Robin Murphy's Materia Medica,
And
which we love,
this is our standard
go
like
to.
this is we use this one a lot. The
Yes.
fourth edition of Robin Murphy.
Yeah. This one is I love. I just need him to come out with the other volumes of it because this only goes through a certain letter. I forget which one. The Roger Morrison. So shout out to Roger Morrison. Sorry, that was bad. Shout out to Roger. Hey, we're anxiously awaiting the next editions because this one was so amazing. We want the
And
rest
I
of
am actually
it
really
ASAP.
jealous that you have that one. I don't have that one.
Let's put it on your list. So this is really and then
Yes.
I know we both have this one, the top.
Yes, I have that at the bottom of my pile though, so I'm not going to
Yes.
show mine. But I
And
have
then
one I think that you don't have.
probably,
Maybe you might have this one. This is kind of like a combo. It's got like Materia Medica and Repertory, and it's the World Traveler's Manual of Homeopathy.
I do not have that one. It is in my Amazon book list, the cart that has 47 other book titles in it. I counted.
I love this book. It's amazing.
Yes.
I love it.
Then I have these two also. I know this is kind of hard to see. So this one is
Oh, I
Maria,
have that one too. I have
and
that
then
one
this one
too.
is Alan Schmuckler, which I always laugh when I see this one because when we were going through the academy with Joette, a lot of times at the end of one of the lessons, there would be a little cartoon, just like as a little humorous thing, and they were written by him. And so the fact that he actually has this too is pretty cool. And then this is my last one. I love her descriptions. Lisa Starbuck is a great. I love her descriptions, and this is like a super easy to. It's got lots of
Hmm.
pictures, so that's why I like it.
Oh, and I have a little one. I don't know where I put it.
It's
You know,
okay.
I think I actually have 10
Oh my goodness.
because I have the little Materia Medica of cell salts.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I have that too. So
Yeah. And then I also have Roger Morrison's desktop guide,
the classic,
the classic one.
classic one. Yeah,
So that, which I love. I love that one.
yeah.
Um, and then I have 10 because I realized I have volumes 1 and 2 of the Materia Medica Puro from
Nice.
Samuel Hahnemann the Great himself,
From the original guy
from
himself.
the original guy. I have both of those. And so,
And I gotta move
and
these.
then
I gotta knock them over.
I have this massive humongo book one,
Oh, that's
Kino Materia
also in
Medica.
my. That's also in my cart.
Yeah, I know. Like we need to live closer to each other so that we can borrow each other's things. But you just like totally smacked me down today about moving to my town, and I don't
See, we're no
know.
improvement over my
I
current.
don't know. Well, the improvement is me. Hello.
Well, but you're not the weather. So we went from 70 something yesterday to snow today. It
Yeah,
didn't
well,
snow.
we went from 81 to snow today, so.
Yeah, it was crap.
Anyway, this is also a Robin Murphy one, but it's from his seminars.
Yeah,
So someone
which I
went
love.
through his seminars and took notes and did a Materia Medica based on that.
Yeah. And also
Unfortunately,
apologies to you guys if you're listening on a like an actual podcast and not watching the Rumble version because we just
right.
held up a whole bunch of stuff that you're gonna be like, what was that?
I know,
So check out
right.
the Rumble edition for this one so that you can see the books that we held up. But all
And
of that to say, oh, I'm
well, I
sorry.
have more.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Don't cut me off
Please.
here. Anyway, I have the third edition of the
Oh,
Robin Murphy. So
nice.
before the fourth edition, and I actually it's set up a little bit differently, and there are times where I will crack this one open for those purposes. And then I feel like I have one more. I think I do have one more, and I'm just like missing it.
And then there's also ones that are like free online and stuff too. So there you
Yeah,
have
like
a
I have
wide,
Kent
yeah.
on
All
on
all
my
of that to say, there are literally thousands of homeopathic remedies, and especially when you are first starting off, that can feel very overwhelming. Like, I
right.
mean, I agree. There's a lot, and nobody expects anybody to learn 6,000 plus remedies because as amazing as it is to have all of those, we generally don't need to like know that many. I mean, I don't personally
Exactly.
know. I don't even know 1,000 remedies. So there are a handful. So that's going back to what this whole series is going to be about is a polycrest. A polycrest is one of the amazing remedies. Well, there's a bunch of them, but it's amazing because it covers multiple areas, meaning it covers multiple organ systems. It has a wide range of action and it covers many different conditions. So it's like a bonus, right? You might look at it for one thing, but then when you kind of dig into it, you're like, oh, it helps with this. It can help with that. It can help with this. So
Hmm.
it covers a lot of things. So you're getting lots of bang for your buck, so to speak.
Right. So these are basically the heavy hitters. These are
Yes.
going to be the remedies you reach for again and again. These are the ones that you're just really going to reach for over and over and over again. These are the ones that we reach for over and over and over again. So that's how we know that you will. But also, they got that named Polycrest because of how often they're used and how many symptoms they actually can address. Um,
There are also
so
ones too, if you open up a repertory, which is kind of the dictionary of symptoms of illnesses and symptoms and things that people can have. They are the ones that are going to show up under like many, many different things. They're going to be in there a lot.
mhm. Right,
Not
right.
to confuse the issue right now, but they're the popular kids on the block,
Yeah,
basically.
they're gonna, when you open up repertory, usually you can find most repertories will have um, the most common remedy for that symptom will be in bold. And these are the ones that you're going to see in bold over and over and over again to the point where you're like, okay, does that cure everything? Really?
No, sometimes it does.
Yes. So, anyway, that is what we're going to be talking about. But we kind of want to also
Let's give a little
go,
background.
yeah, give a little background about some stuff. And so, one thing we want to kind of do is if you have been coming at homeopathy from more of what we call a classical approach, that is different than the way that we approach homeopathy, which is a practical homeopathy approach. So, we haven't talked about this in a while on the podcast, and we would like to kind of give you the differences. Both approaches work, so I want to start there. So, if you have been to a classical homeopath, or if you are a classical homeopath, or if you have just heard of classical homeopathy, we are just trying to show a little bit of the differences. Now, there's way more to this topic than what we're giving. So that's my disclaimer about that. But the classical view
You
really is different than the practical view. And the classical view has a much more heavy emphasis on the mental and emotional picture of things.
remedies,
Um,
yes.
yeah, it looks a lot more at personality, at fears, at behaviors. And they use what they call a constitutional remedy, which, very broadly speaking, is like one remedy to rule them all. like it's gonna be the thing that will just over time take care of all of the different chronic symptoms that you have. And the reason that we wanted to go over this a little bit is because as we teach homeopathy, we're teaching it from a practical perspective. And you're
Yeah.
going to hear things from us that are different than what you would hear from a classical homeopath. And that's the only reason we're talking about this, because we are very much not in the camp of bashing other approaches, because all of us homeopaths need to stick together.
And we just want people to find help however it is. And if you have a good homeopath, then it's great. Stick with them
Stick with them. Right.
for sure. But to kind of come at it from the practical viewpoint of looking at Polycrest and stuff, practical homeopathy in general, we tend to focus primarily on symptoms. So whatever it is, like why did you go to the doctor? That is kind of where we start in the hunt for a remedy that is going to address what you are dealing with. We're looking at what's actually happening in the body right now. What can we observe?
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's if you go back to Hahnemann, that is how he started. He was focusing on what symptoms were presenting and what was actually observable, because obviously they didn't have MRIs and X-rays and stuff then. So it was based on what you could physically observe.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so
And so we're not digging deep into all of the possibilities of what on earth could be going on behind the scenes in the beginning. But we may get to that point if the protocols, or quote unquote the recipes that we use for the symptoms for some reason don't work for you. And so it's just kind of like flip flopped, I think, a little bit. Like there's,
and
go ahead.
I was just gonna say the exception to that is if the symptom that is causing you problems is a mental or emotional issue, then obviously then that is the symptom that we would be
Right.
looking
Then we
at
start
hormone.
there
That's
because
where we're gonna
that,
start there.
right.
So how we kind of look at it is that we're gonna still like for to use an example, if you came to me, Sandra, and was like, oh my gosh, I think I have food poisoning. I wouldn't want to know like what your favorite color was or what side of the bed you like to sleep on or if you prefer cool air to warm it. I'm not going to be looking at all of those types of things. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
say, tell me about what you're experiencing. Okay, I'm experiencing vomiting. I feel super nauseous and I just want to lay down and sleep and try to like get rid of this.
And I ate
So
a bad taco six
I
hours
had
ago.
I ate street tacos in Honduras or
Guatemala. I don't know.
So we're not going to necessarily be digging into your personality picture with this. We're going to go based on the presenting symptoms, which is the nausea and vomiting, right? So
Which,
arsenic and
and to be fair, a classical homeopath in an acute situation wouldn't do that either. But we're just trying to make it simplified,
right, it's
like
just
so
an
that you
example.
understand what we're talking about.
But where I was going with that is that, you know, a lot of times, maybe if someone is feeling that way, the way we look at this, a polycrest is going to, because it covers so many areas, you may end up having some of the emotional or mental symptoms that that remedy covers. But it's to me that as a practical homeopath, that's like extra legs on the stool of like supporting that this is a really great fit. But I'm not going to discard Arsenicum album if you don't have some of those other things. Does that make sense? So we use in practical homeopathy, we use the symptoms. We can also use a conventional medical diagnosis. If someone goes to their medical doctor and they say you have XYZ, then we can look up, we can look up a protocol or a remedy for those kinds of things.
Hmm. And in practical homeopathy, you just need to know that like the the mental stuff can be something that plays into what we're choosing for you, but it's just another leg on the stool. It's not the only thing that's important. And
Stay in the
so,
chronic.
right, right. So, why do we learn polycrests?
I mean, why not?
Um, well, why do we learn any of the things we learn? We are
Because
nerds.
we're nerds.
Exactly.
We
Um,
love
but
it so much.
but really, the reason we learn polycrust is because if you can learn these like 20 to 25 remedies really well, you can actually handle a lot of acute illnesses and you can handle a lot of chronic patterns, like a lot of things that happen chronically. A lot of these are in the protocols that we teach in our classes and stuff. And you can handle a lot of everyday family health situations. You don't need 500 remedies. You just
I mean,
need, I mean,
you
you do.
can, but
Yeah. Let me clarify. She who dies with the most remedies wins. I believe that's one of the best
who
quotes
owns the
from.
most remedies wins.
Right,
Yes.
right.
But
um,
you don't have to start there.
right, exactly. So you don't need 500 remedies. You just need the right ones. So over the next several weeks, and actually it'll probably come up to more like a couple of months,
Right.
um, we are going to be walking through these remedies in a way that really makes them usable. And we're going to try something a little different.
Yes.
We are actually, and this is kind of like, I don't know how many of you guys know this, but there is actually a National Homeopathy like week.
Coming up shortly.
It's coming up in just a couple of weeks. And so this is kind of what we came up with as far as like how we wanted to do something that was kind of different for the podcast that would be even more of a teaching sort of experience. I know we teach you all the time, but like give you a little bit more of like almost like a workshop format, but not quite as deep because we're, this is
On a
just a
podcast.
public podcast. But something like that. So we're going to be talking about all of these remedies and giving you the opportunity to actually take notes. We have a free thing that you can download. It's going to be really fun.
I can't wait.
Right.
Let's
So,
dive in with no
yeah,
further ado.
right, exactly. Why don't you get us started, Heather?
Well, I thought you were wanting to start because this is your favorite remedy. Well, it's one of your favorite remedies.
Well, that's true. That's true. I was thinking that we might go through and tell them like what the structure is going to be for each of the
Oh,
remedies.
well, I can absolutely do that. Okay, so like Sandra just mentioned, we have a fantastic little guidebook download for you. You'll be able to find that in the show notes, the link for that. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to go through, as we go through each week, we're going to choose 4 remedies to go over each week. We're going to talk about the key physical symptoms, the patterns, and just give you just like some basic everyday situations where that remedy could prove to be helpful for you or your family or your pets or your plants or, whatever. So
Right. Right.
now we can get started.
Now, with no further ado,
Okay.
we are going to give you several remedies today with a little quick breakdown of the physical symptom, their key physical symptoms that they that they could address, and some patterns that you might want to look for if you're trying to figure out, if there's a couple of remedies that are similar to each other, which one should I use? And then like a practical takeaway of like that specific remedy, and thinking through it as far as like to remember it more than anything else.
Yeah, just
So
like
the
some keynotes and things.
Right. So the first one we're going to start with is one that I don't think we've a few times we've talked about it in passing, I think, but we've never really like delved deeply into it, and that is natrum muriaticum. We call it Nat Mur for
For sure.
short, and it is one of our best remedies for so many things. I mean, that's kind of the definition of a polycrest.
Yes.
It's made from sodium chloride, which is just common salt, believe it or not. But it has some key physical symptoms that go along with it. Things like headaches, especially from sun or from grief. Any kind of dryness, like dry lips, dry mucous membranes, dry eyes, anything dry, you're going to think of Natmure.
Yes.
Um, Anemia or weakness, migraines, and even constipation. So that's kind of a wide range of things. But Natmure can address a lot of different ailments, and is just an amazing remedy for so many things. It can even help with things like hormonal things. It's just great. So the key patterns that go with Natmure are ailments from grief. So if there is a grief or a trauma in your past, and there is an ailment that has cropped up since that time, then you might think of Natmure. So your ailment you may not necessarily think, oh, I'm grieving, but you may have an ailment that seems like a never well since kind of a thing. Like you had this thing happen and it was really sad or really hard. And then maybe a week later, a month later, maybe even several months later, some other symptoms started. And you may not have even connected the two things.
Right.
But if you can kind of go back in time a little bit and be like, you know what? I think that started after XYZ. Then Natmure is a really good one to look at. Anything that might be from silent or internalized emotions. So if you are having like maybe a lot of anxiety or something like that, and you're not really sure where it's coming from, but you are one of those people that's a stuffer, Natmure might be a good,
Emotions is a
right.
huge thing for that.
Right. That might be a good one for you. Or if you have periodic headaches. So it's not like you're having a headache every day, but it hits you periodically and it's like really annoying, and you're like, okay, this has become more of a chronic issue. Natmure is one that you would consider looking at.
Yeah.
Think Natmure when you see headaches plus dryness plus a history of grief. So those are some of the things. And I'd also like to say this is one of the ones that we're going to be doing a Remedy Reflections episode about in a week or two. So stay tuned for that, because then you can add even more to your notes, that about Natmure. And what's really amazing about this whole series is that at the end we're going to tell you how to get a free resource where you can keep all of your notes and information about each of these remedies that we're going to give to you for free. So why don't you go ahead and talk to them about bryonia?
Yes, I will. And I just wanted to, when you were talking about Mir, one of the other things that kind of popped in my head was with all homeopathy, right? Any remedy that we utilize, it's about balance. We're bringing our body back to homeostasis because the
Mhm.
symptom that you're experiencing is because of an imbalance, right? So things like Nat Mir or, the other ones we're going to talk about, sometimes it can be too much or too little. And the body, like the remedy helps the body know how to get back to that middle point. And the reason I said that is because I actually just was having my mom use Natmir because she was experiencing like her eyes were just watering. It wasn't like a like full blown allergy. She didn't have any other symptoms, but her eyes just kept watering, watering, watering. She's like, I look like I'm crying all the time. And so I'm like, let's try some Natmir. And so that was like too much moisture. And then it can also be for if your eyes are feeling dry. So it's again, it's just one of the things that I love
Yeah, it
about
does do both. It does
balance.
do both. Yeah, it
It's
balances.
balance when there's too much or too little of something. So
Hmm.
I just wanted to toss that in because it popped in my head. All right, so the remedy we're going to go over next is bryonia, and it is actually made from a plant, wild hops. And again, you kind of have some of the key physical symptoms. You can have dryness around the mouth, lips, and mucous membranes. The person may have intense thirst for large amounts of water. They could have a cough that is painful or worse when they move around. They can have constipation and have hard, dry stools. And they can also have headaches that are worse for movement. So that one of the uh, keynotes for bryonia is worse with movement, whether it is back pain, whether it is a headache. You know, the kind of headache where you're laying there and like it kind of hurts to even move your head on the pillow because it makes the pain worse in your head. Um, so that person may want to lie completely still. A lot of times, and sometimes people aren't going to just come out and tell you, like, yes, my head feels better when I put pressure on it. But what you might see is you might see them like gripping their head. You might see them like pushing on their head, like wherever it's hurting, or on, wherever part of the body that's hurting, it feels better for pressure. And a lot of times they just want to be left alone. They may or may not be overly kind about telling you that, depending on how much pain they're in. But if they just want to kind of be left alone, let me lie still, don't breathe around me. A lot of times that can be for bryonia. And I'm going to tell you what, we have had so many people love bryonia for that like back and sciatic pain, but it's also a really great cough remedy, right? So if you have that cough that's painful, it's dry, that kind of stuff, bryonia is definitely one to look at. And I'm going to throw one more thing in here. Um, we are going over these in brief, but if you remember back at the beginning of this podcast, we held up about 100 different books. So we want to encourage you guys. Hopefully, this is kind of just piquing your interest, and you're going to want to go and pick up one of those Materia Medicas. It doesn't even matter which one, take your pick,
Hmm.
and just really read even more into that. So we're trying to convert you guys into becoming nerds like us.
Right.
Um,
And one more thing I want to mention about bryonia that
yes,
that we didn't have in this list, but I think is an amazing thing, especially for women, is
yes.
that it can really help with breast pain. So if you tend to have really sore breasts around your period, or you maybe you go and get a mammogram or something like that, and you've got a lot of soreness afterwards, or maybe even an injury to your breast, bryonia is amazing for helping with that kind of pain. So I would highly recommend that you have that in your remedy arsenal as you are thinking about which ones that you want to have close by. So, and also, I don't know, you may have said this, Heather, but my dog was requesting a drink. And so I had to mute while you were talking and give her some water because she was crying. But Bryonia and Napmir can both have dryness, but Bryonia is much more about physical aggravation from movement. And did you already say that?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Same
I
thing.
missed it
No,
because
no,
I
no.
was giving my dog a drink.
Yeah. Yeah. Bryonia is much more like you were just saying, it's physical aggravation from movement, whatever it is, whereas
Hmm.
net it kind of is more of that internalized feelings. So, but it's also, I don't know, they're both such great remedies. So
Right,
we
right.
could talk for
So,
hours about all of them.
oh yeah, we could. They all of these are well, there's a reason why they're polycrests.
Right.
They have
Because of
tons of different
electrons.
applications.
Yes.
So we're going to go into lachesis next, and that is it's a very interesting remedy because it is actually made from the bushmaster snake, which is a poisonous snake. And it's got a really interesting story that I don't know that anyone knows whether or not it's absolutely true. But the person who discovered this remedy, I believe someone brought him a bushmaster snake and he was messing with it and trying to get the venom out so that he could make a remedy and ended up like piercing himself
With it.
with it. And so he actually then discovered that it worked because he
Yeah.
got
He had
himself
a
into some trouble.
experience of proving that remedy.
Right. So these are left-sided symptoms, throat issues, especially if it's worse with swallowing. If you are somebody who's really sensitive to tight clothing, that can be like a marker that lachesis could be a good remedy for you. Um, People who are really in hot and congested states. So, if somebody who has a fever and also has a lot of lung stuff going on where they're congested, lachesis would be a good one to consider. And circulatory issues, which of course makes sense because it's made from the bushmaster snake, which of course the symptoms surrounding that bite would have to do with circulatory issues. So it's a really good heart remedy. Things for like heart palpitations and things like that are very much in the wheelhouse of lachesis. Anything around here.
It's also a good asthma remedy.
Yes, very good for asthma. And so, some of the key patterns for this are like symptoms worse after sleep, something that's very intense and has a rapid onset, and anything that has a strong vascular involvement, like the fact that someone's really hot. That's you can almost see the the veins, that kind of thing.
Face is
So
really red,
their
stuff like
face is really red. So think about lachesis in those situations when things are intense or left-sided or worse after sleep. Lachesis is one that you could consider. And remember, you're going to be able to differentiate between all of these different remedies if you have an actual materia medica where you can look through what the symptoms are and look through, if you get a really good one that has a lot of pages like ours do, you're going to be able to see even some of the cases that homeopaths have taken that have been cured by these different remedies, because those are often, the stories are in the materia medica, which is kind of a cool thing. So think of lachesis whenever you have that set of symptoms, but definitely get your materia medica out and make some comparisons. So we're on to our last one, which is silica, and Heather's going to take that one.
yeah, I love that we ended up with like two cell salts and two regular ones this
Yeah,
today.
we did.
So silica is silicon dioxide, so basically sand, you could kind of look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the key physical symptoms for silica are a wound that is slow healing, infections that don't resolve, like it doesn't really get worse, but it doesn't really get better. Abscesses, we sometimes jokingly call silica the beauty remedy because it helps with hair and nails and skin. And it can also help with people when they are experiencing chilliness, where they're just kind of always cold.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there can be a lack of vitality and an inability to push things out, and I'm putting that in quotes, and just any kind of chronic lingering issues. One of the big things that, when we're first learning this, that we learn about silica is its ability to help the body push things out. Like say you got a splinter or you stepped on a piece of glass and it's in there and you can't quite get it out, with your tweezers or whatever. A couple of doses of silica many times will help your body just push that out. And we have a couple of really great stories. I know that Joette has shared this one before where there was a person who had been in a car accident years and years before and had like the windshield glass had gotten like in her face and, like they had done multiple surgeries to get it out. And years later, she was taking silica for something else unrelated. But it was also, she was having like pieces of glass were like literally just coming out of her skin, that the body was finally able to push that kind of stuff out, which is pretty amazing. And one question that we always get when it comes to silica is if I had ankle surgery or wrist surgery or hip replacement or anything like that, a dental implant, is silica going to push out, the plates or screws that are in my body? And the general answer to that is no. And I'm going to put an asterisk by that one. So if it is something that has been healed, it's been, you broke your ankle when you were 16, you got a plate or a screw or something put in, and now you're in, 20s, 30s, 40s, something like that. You're not going to have screws poking through your skin and, like things just like bursting out of you. But we have had one story that someone shared where they had been taking silica, probably for like their hair and nails or something, and they had a dental implant put in while they were taking silica, and it actually did kind of push that implant out. And so, what my caution would be is if it's something new, like if you just had an injury and you're having that surgery, you're having screws put in something, or you're having a dental implant, then I would halt silica until everything is very well healed up.
Hmm.
And if you're at all concerned about anything like that, there's other remedies. Like, we've
Right.
held up those pretty big books. So we can
Hmm.
help you find something else that will address that situation if that is something that kind of makes you a little bit nervous.
And I can
There
say
are
I've
other
had a
remedies.
lot of dental work done. I got a lot of stuff in my
Yeah.
mouth, honestly.
Mhm.
I wish I didn't, but I do.
Yeah.
And I've used silicone on multiple occasions and it's never
Yeah.
pushed anything out of my mouth. But it's just
When
when
it's
it's
fresh,
healing and fresh and the body isn't recognizing it as sort of,
it's kind of still thinking it's an intruder at that point.
right,
It
right,
hasn't fully acclimated it in.
right.
And again, that was one story out of literally hundreds and hundreds. But again, we want to be transparent and be, upfront with stuff. So that would be something that if I had to have an implant put in, I wouldn't be taking silica during that time period. So
Right.
just a little caution there
Yeah.
because it's not that it's bad, it's doing what it,
Hmm.
just what it does. But
It's
there
an
are times when we
amazing
don't want that to happen.
it's an amazing remedy. Even like for like getting like ripening
Yeah.
ripening abscesses and stuff like that. There's just such a great you can actually take it through the process by using silica and getting, moving along faster. So,
Which is one of the keynotes was that slow healing, infections that don't want to resolve. Uh,
mm-hmm,
Even think about, maybe not everyone's familiar with what an abscess is. Think about for a minute, like a pimple, like you say, you're getting a pimple and it's like in that hard, painful stage where it's like you can feel it below the skin, but it hasn't
mm-hmm.
really
But it
like come
hasn't come to a
out yet
head.
where you can pop it. So silica can help move that situation along so that it gets to the point where it can kind of expel what it needs to
Hmm.
and then move on with the healing
Right,
aspect of that. So
right.
so that's the four remedies we're going to talk about today. Definitely check out in the show notes. Check out this little booklet. Guidebook is going to be awesome. It's going to give you a place to write down the notes that we talk about, but also there's going to be plenty of space for you to kind of dive in and do your own notes. And even, if you end up using a remedy, then you can also jot down notes of like, hey, this worked great for, Susie's whatever. So there'll be space in there to kind of help you do that, and just it'll just be an easy reference so that you can kind of look back and help differentiate between some of these. So
And if you are wanting that guide, you're going to go to simplehopeopathy.com/basic guide. So basic dash guide. So simplehopeopathy.com/basic dash guide to get that. And you will not regret it because we're going to put some fun stuff in there and you're going to be able to take notes. And, today we've talked about Polycrest, which should be equal your core remedies, having a practical approach, and that you don't need to know everything.
learn
And this is, as you start learning these, you're going to be able to recognize patterns, and that's where your confidence really starts to build. And
absolutely.
so we want you to go and get that guide so that you can take notes, have them all in one place. And then that's the thing that you stick it on the fridge. You're hanging on I mean, it'll actually be like a booklet, but if you print it off, put it in a prominent place in your house so that if something happens, because you can't think straight when you're sick and
Or
something
injured
happens,
or
you can
something else.
flip through and kind of find based on your notes. It'll be sort of like your own little beginner's materia medica, which will be kind of fun for you.
And then
So,
also, oh, go ahead. I was going to
oh,
say really quick too. We had just wanted to mention too that we don't get paid for this, but I wanted to just let you know that this Helios Basic Remedies Kit,
mm-hmm.
hopefully you can see it there.
Yeah.
These are available on Amazon, and it has almost every single remedy that we are going to talk about. It has it in here. So we love kits because, and I know we've talked about this before, but because it gives you a wide variety of remedies that are good for so many things. This is like chock full of Polycrest for a reason. And it also has its own little booklet that comes with it to help you kind of, differentiate. Maybe it's some of the remedies that we're not going to be touching on right now, just to kind of help you, figure things out. But again, you can grab these on Amazon and just have it. And that way, you're learning about all these remedies. But guess what? If you don't have it when you need it, it doesn't do you a whole lot of good. So this is the perfect way to start. And there's other companies that sell, different kits and different things like that, and they're all good. This is just one that we happen to know and love.
Mhm.
So that might be a good addition to consider as you're going through this, to check that out. The basic Helios kit, and again, you can get them on Amazon. So
Yep. And
that's
next time we're going to be covering 4 more remedies. And just remember, you don't need to know everything. You just need to start.
right.
All
We'll
right.
see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Simple Hopopathy podcast. Tune in next time for more education, empowerment, and encouragement as we discuss how you can take back your family's health with practical homeopathy. Please share and subscribe and leave us a review. And if you'd like to know more about the membership we discussed in this episode, you can go to simplehopopathywellness.com/membership for more information. See you next time.